am a scientist and I am 39 years old. I have been tampering with psychedelics for years, but getting older and the fact that my line of work does not permit for too much abuse, I rarely use any sort of substance apart from the occasional indica. As a well-respected member of our society and a very busy senior member of an established laboratory, I cannot afford to play as I used to in my earlier years, and thus have limited my experiences to very particular instances and special places, namely festivals at which my friends play music in, and that I know I will find other searchers of the truth or the other, or whatever it is that keeps us looking for that crack between the reality that we created and the worlds that we feel are out there and crave for each time we dream. I remember the first time Ben mentioned DMT, he claimed that it was a way to talk and walk with angels, but Ben being much younger than me and a little on the inquisitive side with many drugs, I chose to ignore this statement as something someone says in order to impress, but when someone else mentioned it in passing, I started my research into DMT. Initially I trawled the web and then I began to ask questions. Many people stated that they had looked for it for years but could not find it, others had mentioned that it was an experience they would rather not repeat. All of them hinted at the fact that during their experiences the first thing they sensed was the existence of a greater intelligence. I did not find any difficulty in obtaining a sample, something I thought nothing of initially until testimonies to the fact that it is not a drug you find readily came flooding in from many psychonauts and close members of my spiritual family. In fact, I have to admit, the drug found me. I have penned my first experiences and went on to try and log the rest as frequently as possible, but I have become totally engulfed in another world that has seeped into my reality, and I can truly claim that it has altered my perception of time and space and our connection to the ultimate universe, and at the expense of sounding schizophrenic, I know now the face of God and the link we have with each other and the entirety of existence. My first hit found me sitting in my living room with my two cats at my side. From the moment the smoke hit my lungs, everything started to turn fractal and the objects before me took on a life of their own. Amazing colors and shapes danced before my eyes, and space gave way to another deeper space that existed in front of our eyes every day but we somehow managed to ignore. The second thing I noticed was that I was being observed, the patterns and shapes had intent and were not random. My eyesight was being assessed, my hearing, my ability to feel, to sense, to touch, to smell, all these things that make us human were being weighed and monitored. I was not afraid and I was not shocked, but rather relieved by the fact that from the beginning we have never been alone, and ever so delicately we are being initiated into what is to come next after we leave this shell. I began to cry because at long last I realized that always and forever our angels surround us and protect us. Dancing colors and patterns passed before my eyes and lead my gaze to the roof, where I witnessed a perplexity of light and color twirling forever within each other, not unlike the murals and paintings of angels that we see in churches. Flying sound like nothing I had ever thought of before came buzzing through the room. Sound gave birth to light, or light to sound. I gave out a cry of joy and found my body flying through the room along with the light. I began to laugh and the laugh echoed through my soul. I shuddered with joy and bliss. I found my body turning into vibrations and tried to catch the angels in a game of chase. Everything seemed to rejoice in the notion of existence, and my friends delved deeper into my thoughts. I closed my eyes only to find another world awaiting for me. With eyes shut I beheld deeper colors and shapes that led me further into another realm. Here a smile flashed constantly before my thoughts as if to attract my attention. I smiled back and followed it. Creatures began to appear like dense matter striving to take a form that I could comprehend. Initially they looked like something out of the movie Alien, but when I let this thought go I realized that they were doing this for my benefit, for me to be able to conceptualize their shape. I had a conversation with these beings and have chosen, for purely notional purposes, to name them overlords. In a sense they are us, but before the material manifested. I asked them why the world as I know it is in such a state, and they reviled to me that it is just another state of being, and eventually everything will be alright, that everything is alright in the end. After my initial trip I have gone on since to experiment with DMT on a number of occasions and have since always managed to pick up off from where I left off last. Sometimes it's just for fun. I love to dance with the angels you see, and other times it's because in the meantime I get closer to the light that exists in the center of each trip. I know a lot of skeptics out there will claim that all these experiences are just a projection of what lays inside each of us, and in part this is true, but if we all initiated from the source, then what is to say that we cannot comprehend or see it? In the meantime this is what I have accomplished. I can manifest items from out of nothing just by clicking my fingers, I can elevate at will, I can shift realities and telepath with friends that are far away. Sometimes, in the presence of the Godhead I forget who and what I am, and this I found is an exercise in order to be able to contain my form in thought as well as matter. I have found fault lines within our existence such as jealousy, fear, hate, etc., but these are all vibrations that we are able to manipulate and extinguish. I also have a message from where it is I travel to whenever I transcend. The time has come for the change, and the change is paradise. It is at our fingertips and is waiting to be born, because it is already a notion that we have given birth to and crave. Love, compassion and mercy, the ultimate feeling, thought, sound, vibrations that will eventually pave the way for the change. Do not mistake DMT for another trippy experience. Initially this is what we perhaps experiment with it for. DMT is a tool and a key for the inside. The colors and shapes you see are merely what a rattle is to an infant. They will attract your attention, but all the while they will build up abilities such as coordination, attention and the development of the senses. Do not be afraid and do not withdraw from your experience. Eventually it will merge with your everyday life and transport you and everything around you into an ethereal playground. See you all there.